Now the dictionary object that we have added to the notifications manager here is named listeners, and this keeps track of all the listener objects in the scene that are going to be registered with the notifications manager. But this object is a private object, and what we need to do is create some public functionality that other objects will be able to access so they can add themselves as a listener of the notifications manager to say, hey, I want to listen for an event. So what I'm going to do is to paste in a new function now called add listener. I'm going to paste it in as opposed to typing it in line by line and explain what the code does. So I'm just going to press Ctrl V on the keyboard to paste in a new function here. We have public void add listener, and it accepts two arguments, component sender and string notification name. The sender argument is going to be a reference to the object that is listening for an event. So in the case of the enemy object, that's going to register for a shot event and say, hey, this is me, I'm the object that you will need to reference when the event happens. And the notification name is the name of the event to listen for. If I switch back to the enemy class, you will see that it has a shot event here. Now, this is the function that we want to call when the shot event happens. And it's important that the name of the function we're listening for, the name of the event, matches this function here. So the enemy class is going to be listening for a shot event. So let's take a look at the add listener class. The first thing that we do is call upon the listeners object. So you can see here we're calling listeners contains key notification name. We're checking to see if the listeners already has a note, is already listening for an event that matches the notification name. If it is not, then we need to add a new entry into the database based on the notification name, and we're keeping track of a new list of listeners. And then in this piece of code here, we're adding this new listener to a list of all the listeners for this event. So that's how the add listener function works. I'm going to press Ctrl S on the keyboard to save those changes. Return to MonoDevelop and you can see the code compiles. I'm going to jump back over to our enemies class now, and here we're going to be adding this enemy as a listener of the notifications manager, and it's going to be listening for the event shot, and we're going to be calling this in the start function here. So we can call upon the notifications manager, and you can see that listed here in the code completion dialog. So I'm going to select notifications manager dot instance, as you can see here, dot add listener, and we're going to be listening for a shot event. So it's going to be this object, this, and we're going to be listening for a shot event. And be careful that the name of the event we're listening for here, which is shot, matches the name of this function, because we're going to be using this name to call this function when the event happens. So I'm going to press Ctrl S on the keyboard, and that is all the enemy needs to do to add itself to the notifications manager as a listener. I'm going to minimize this code here, and that goes ahead and compiles. And now we have created functionality so that objects can add themselves to the notification system as a listener. Of course, we still have more code to add. We need to notify those listeners when an event happens.